Welcome to another episode of Real Life Survivor Stories, a talk show about real life, real people, and real stories. And if you're new and you're just tuning in, Real Life Survivor is a nonprofit organization. And what makes us unique is that we're an organization for every cause, every circumstance, and every condition. So no one ever has to feel alone or suffer in silence. We share stories on every platform. And here we give you a voice. And today, I'm so excited we have with us Jessica and her amazing mom, Allison. Thank you guys so much for being on the show today. Now, Jessica, you are a real life survivor of something called FASD.
Yes, I am.
Which stands for Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, right?
Yes.
Now, with you and your mom, if you guys could take us right from when it all began, and I know at the age of 4, Jessica's life changed, and if you could take us from there.
Okay, yeah, so we adopted Jessica and her sister when they were 2 and 3. Yeah,
3.
And they were diagnosed with global developmental delays, which was kind of not, meeting the mark. I'm an education, took education and I focused on developmental disabilities, so I knew that wasn't quite it. Yes, across the board, there were delays with both of the girls.
Right.
Jessica a little bit more so than Stacy.
Okay.
It did take a little bit longer to kind of go through different doctors and things to discover that she had fetal alcohol spectrum disorder.
Yes.
Anyway, I think she was diagnosed completely in grade 5 by a doctor that's in Moncton, Dr. Nicole LeBlanc. I had done a few little assessments on her because I had some checklists that I could do, just to kind of see, and she met over 50% of the criteria.
Okay.
So I was kind of thinking and leaning towards that, and the more that I read about FASD, the more I kind of figured out that it must be. Her sister wasn't actually diagnosed for a couple of years later. Doctor said, well, it doesn't mean just because she has it that the other one has it as well. But anyway, so
Stacy had more behavioral issue plus detachment, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask you guys, how did this all come about? Like, I know you guys are absolutely amazing. I've known you for quite a while, and I am so proud of you, Jessica. You've come so far. And
thank you.
You're so welcome. And you and your husband, Mike, are absolutely amazing. And I know that you've adopted Jessica. And now, how did that, take us through that process? Like, how did it all came about?
We, when we kind of started our married life, we were kind of doing it in our own, kind of following our own path. So we didn't immediately start to try to have kids, but when we did start to try to have kids, we were unable to. So I think like in a couple of years, we kind of thought, well, you know, what do we do? And I said to Mike, I myself am adopted, and he has a sister that's adopted. So we are very open to that idea. So we put our names in for adoption. Anyway, we kind of followed through with the fertility route, and we went to Halifax, and we had probably a year before we went to Halifax, but after that we went and we tried, and were unsuccessful, and there was a lot of medications and various things that kind of, my behavior changed, which wasn't super pretty, I didn't think.
Okay.
And when we came back, we kind of put our foot in the door and did some training in order to kind of look at what adoption would look like for our family.
Right.
It wasn't very long after. My husband's a little bit of a slowpoke, and so trying to get him to fill out the paperwork was quite something. Anyway, but we got the paperwork finished, and like 6 months later, we found out that these girls were out there and available.
Right.
I don't know if we expected that we would do multiple. But anyway, we did multiple, and it was wonderful. It was like a gift.
Wow.
I get that loves you always.
That's right. A gift that keeps on giving, right?
Yeah.
That is so precious.
Anyway, so at 2 and 3, they came home with us, but we had like a year that we have to just wait to make sure all the things, everything's dotted, and that before you can actually do the official.
It's a big process, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's like, there's screening and all that involved,
yeah,
right?
And that happened kind of like when they said we could adopt. We had some screening, people coming in just to check, make sure our home was okay for them to come.
Right. So where are you guys today after this amazing, thing that's happened with Jessica? How has your life changed? And maybe take us there.
Yeah. Well, for Jessica, it's always been her. She wakes up in the morning and she's like, "Hello," and just kind of some of her teachers have said "little ray of sunshine," which I would definitely say that would be the truth, and it's never changed as far as that goes.
No.
Supports in the community have been good. I would like to, eventually see more supports in the community. FASD information is growing. Groups are growing. We're getting a few more groups here as far as in the Fredericton area that will help parents a little bit more and lead them down the track. We have in Moncton, it's called Fetal Alcohol Center for Excellence.
Right.
And there's a team, so there's an assessment team that can actually determine whether these kids have it. We were before that team was formed, but it was the doctor on the team that actually did a diagnosis for her. But now they have like a social worker, and they have like OT, PT, they have a psychiatrist, they have so they have everything that they need. And also they will follow the kids up till the time they were 18. So kids that were diagnosed kind of when Jessica was, there wasn't a lot.
Right.
But we did have an organization called Opal Family Services, which actually it crosses the board. So it doesn't matter kind of what you're dealing with. You could have Down syndrome, you could be missing a chromosome, you could be having autism or those things. What?
Am I missing?
You also are missing a chromosome. Anyway, so they actually kind of reached out and did some support for us in the areas that we need it. Good. You picked that up good, didn't you?
She's listening. She's listening.
And you were saying missing chromosome.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, she had, with Opal, like she was able to do summer camps and stuff. The hardest thing I think for parents like Mike and I is the fact that you need breaks built in. One of the things is when they turn a certain age, there's no more daycare. So for parents like Mike and myself who are working full time, you have to try to arrange vacations or find camps or whatever around that in order to make sure that they're fully cared for.
Right.
So now again, Opal has changed that. There is summer camps for kids, and it's more full-time, and it's on like each side of the river, which is wonderful. But when these guys were growing up, we did not have that. So it's kind of like we had to juggle and try to figure out what camps. We did Green Hill, we did Rotary Camp.
We did Rising Sun.
We did, that was your Green Hill. And then just our parents weren't able really to help us because Mike's parents were working and my parents were older. Right. So it's not an ideal situation for that. The camps that she was able to go to, like Rotary, is a week away, which is nice. It's overnight camp. The Green Hill, they used to pick them up at a hotel, and then they drive them out, and then we pick them up at the end of the day, which that was a really nice one. The one that she just said, Rising Sun.
Yes.
Looking at kind of her growing up, some of the things that may be a little bit more difficult, and again, fetal alcohol is across the board. Some kids are a lot higher functioning, some are lower functioning, some are in the middle. So Jessica will never be able to kind of do her finances. She'll never be able to live alone. She needs help with stuff, but there's a lot of great things happening with Jessica too, in the fact that she's continuing to learn skills. Right. I don't know if we've talked in the interviews before, but the doctors had figured that she would plateau in her teens, which has not happened.
Exactly.
So we keep trying to make sure that she's stimulated and that she, has experiences that are going to continue to pull her forward and doing skills. Like one of the things is reading. Okay. How do you like reading, Jess?
Not very well.
But?
It's good for me.
And?
It helps my brain.
Right. And she's a functional reader, but she doesn't like it. But I mean, that's a skill that's going to help her.
Right.
So there are things that she continues to gain on, albeit slow.
I'm going to ask you guys, how has this impacted your life? Like your life has changed, obviously, routinely, and your everyday, and then take us through that. Maybe.
There's a lot of good in our lives. Yeah, there's a lot of good. Sometimes it's difficult, like when kids grow, they move out and they leave the nest.
Yeah, and empty nest syndrome.
Yeah, empty nest syndrome. And a lot of people are like, oh. Yeah. But, with Jessica, that's not going to happen. We've tried to do a couple of AFLAs, and at one time her grandfather passed away, so we pulled her home just because she just can't kind of like compute everything that's happening.
Sure.
And trying to figure out, and she was like amazingly close to her grandfather. That was Mike's dad.
Yeah, and I was really close to Grampy.
Yeah.
So that was hard, and yeah, and that was really sad, but like I didn't find out till the next day.
No.
Right.
No.
It's
Yep.
never easy when you lose a loved one. And I'm sorry
No.
you lost your grandfather.
He loved to tease her, and in the beginning, she
Yeah.
just really didn't understand what was going on. And anyway, it was kind of hilarious. She's like, "Grampy, you're teasing me,"
Right.
So
He just loved you, that's all.
Yeah.
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 yeah. So I mean, the thing with us as parents now is we still have to make sure that she's looked after. If we want to go on a trip, if we want to go out to dinner together or whatever. So those are our biggest, I think, hurdles. And then finding, as you and I talked about, respite.
Respite care, yes, the other day. Yeah, we
even
talked about that.
Long-term, short-term, it doesn't matter. And I would say that's a struggle for a lot of families like ours. It doesn't matter what the disability is or
Exactly.
the disorder is.
And the viewers watching today, there's a lot of you out there watching that are going through the similar things as Allison and Mike, taking in an adopted child that has FASD. I have to look at that because sometimes it's, but yes, and respite care, it's very, very important, but very hard to find. And that's some of our challenges today. Like you say, like you can't just leave and go, out to dinner or, go on vacation. You have a very special person here to look after and to make sure that
Precious cargo.
Your precious cargo.
That's right.
That's a good word. But you have to make sure when you leave Jessica with someone that they give her the same kind of love and care, and she's going to be, and you guys can go away or maybe just out for the evening and feel okay and not have to check your phone or call every half hour. You know what I mean? Also, I want to just talk about there was a time where doctors had said that Jessica, something really special had happened, and that they said that she would never achieve this goal. What was that thing?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Can I talk?
as long as you know what you're talking about.
I think it was when, like, the graduating one.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's where I was, yes.
So the doctor says I would never graduate high school, but I proved them wrong.
You did, didn't you? Huh. That's right. My high fives are for those powerful moments
That was
because
the
it
same
really
one.
is amazing. That
That was the same one that
absolutely.
said that she would plateau too.
Yes.
And that she would plateau in her teens.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody can kind of guarantee that.
Yeah.
Like they can't really say that.
And do you know what? I proved them wrong because I did it and I did it. And
You did her good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Kind of knocked me off my feet though when I said that. And I'm very, I would say educated, but also I kind of understand because I've been in the field.
Yes.
But I was amazed at how much that affected me.
Well, absolutely.
I was like crying for days and trying to pull myself together and thinking, I know that's not going to happen. She's going to graduate. What the heck are you talking about? It could have been a little bit of anger because when I get angry, I'm a little more emotional.
Well, that's only natural.
Right, Jess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And guess what? I proved them wrong.
You sure did.
Because I did her and...
She even had black Fs. I think she got 3 shirts or something,
Wow.
black Fs.
No, I got like the plaque.
But you had the sweatshirt too.
Yeah, I had the sweatshirt, plus the yearbook sweatshirt.
Amazing.
And plus my grad class sweatshirt.
And she was in the High School Musical, which was huge. She had an amazing EA that thought, okay, this will be fun if we do this with her. And it was a challenge for her too, because she's a very, she poops out quick. So cognitively, like she's like looking around and trying to figure everything out, and it tires her out.
Right.
So you can imagine practices for a High School Musical that go late at night. They really had to figure out scenarios as to how they could get her to rest, even before when they're practicing for those shows. Because there was like, it was pretty aggressive, I would say, getting ready for it. But even the nights of the show. But she totally loved it. She had
I did 2 years of that. I did White Christmas and also chess. And in grade 11, I only did the first 2 acts.
Right.
And then
you went home. Because you were too tired, right?
Yeah.
So long. Now, how long would that last? Like would it be like an
They
hour,
really
2 hours?
Well,
like,
they
it would be
really
like
trained hard, like going up to it. And I know it was like a month, 6 weeks where she was there a little bit longer. Sometimes she didn't have to stay because of like kind of who she is.
Right.
But there was times getting close to the show that she'd have to be there like, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And Jess is my 8 o'clock girl. Like she's literally looking at the clock that it's time to go to bed around 8 o'clock. She just can't.
So
Can't go any further.
and that's tiring. I mean, but it's exciting all at the same time. But you feel it when you get home how exhausting it is in a good way. But it's a lot, isn't it?
And also when we did like the matinees and stuff, like the shows in the day.
That's right.
Like, cause like where we lived when we were in school, we lived on Deerwood, so we bus in.
Right.
And then like when we got there, cause like I had to get my key, get my stuff up to my locker, and then get back down to makeup. But the makeup was on the middle floor, my locker was on the top floor.
Wow.
So I was
You were a busy girl.
trying like to figure out a way to do it without like.
But you did it, didn't you?
Yeah, she loved it.
Yeah.
I did it, and I was only 1 minute late for my makeup session.
See, another powerful.
She ended up being all like blushy because she ended up getting a kiss on the hand for the last production in one of the things, and she thought that was pretty cool.
But it's nice to be a part of something like that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was very enjoyable, I find, in any of the productions, because when she's like singing or when she's dancing, she was the one that was like always a step behind.
Right.
And she made it so that the audience was kind of endeared to her.
Aw,
just because
right.
they'd watch her and she'd have this great big grin on her face, and she's just like, they do this, and like Jessica's like a minute later. And so that there was like a giggle in the audience.
Right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But she's such a bright light, of course, and she's so
this
full
is
of
her mostly
full of
24/7.
joy and love, and
Yes.
just like you just make the whole room just a happy place.
Yes.
Just so cool.
It was Peter Creelman that was her EA, and he was so thankful that he could pull her forward in all those years.
Right.
That he did up a little album for her of all the performances and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it meant a lot to us, but I know that even just kind of her working with him to get him to the point where he felt like he really made a difference.
Exactly.
Was
And all of her accomplishments
amazing.
too along the way too.
Was amazing.
Yeah. And also I had a mentor for the yearbook thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the mentor's name, but
Yeah. There's a lot of people that help along the way, but we always like the people that are not just kind of like a babysitter for her.
Right.
That's not what she needs. She needs
Exactly.
people that are going to care about her in a way that what's best for Jessica.
Now, I was going to ask you too earlier on, how long did it take for you to find out that it was fetal alcohol?
Well, she was grade 5 by the time she was diagnosed, and we'd had her since she was just in preschool.
And she had to go through a lot of like testing and stuff like that.
Unfortunately, we kind of, when we did get referrals done, we were kind of in the queue when the doctor was unavailable to do any types of assessments.
Right.
So we waited for 4 years to kind of get the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And then when we went out to the car, I said to Jessica, I said, I'm sorry, but Mommy's going to cry after she got the diagnosis, because I kind of knew what it was.
Right.
Because of just doing the checklists and stuff that I had done, and just the way that things were going.
Yes.
And it was just like that final knowing, just having that sense of, I guess, like kind of relief that now we have something to work with.
Okay.
Now we can move forward, we can get her the help that she needs, and make sure that it stays there.
Incredible. Yeah. Just incredible. And how the transformation and what you guys have done with Jessica so far, and how far you've come.
She's had some really good people in her life, and her family is pretty amazing.
Right.
Like on Mike's side more so, my family was kind of smaller, so it was just my dad and myself, and then I have my stepmom and then siblings on that side. And then now I did meet my biological mom because I was trying to figure out the whole fertility thing. Mm-hmm. And I wish I had more time with her, because she was like totally amazing. Yes. And just very, very similar to me, but she died of cancer when she was like 53.
Wow.
But my siblings that I have there are amazing, and they've taken me in like, so again, a beautiful extension for Jessica to have another grampy, and to have my sister and brother in her life.
Mm-hmm. Danny and Brandy and Vicky.
Right. And Tori is your cousin. Yep.
and Tori.
Yep.
Right.
And
So
they're in St. John.
Yeah.
I just
so
took in-
smart.
I
She's
know.
just right on cue. She just knows. She just knows.
She loves Grampy Jim. He's pretty amazing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweetie. He had a hard time when my mom passed, but
Yeah.
It's hard. Eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
hard when you're that connected.
Absolutely.
somebody.
I mean, you obviously you know the loss, and it's it's
Huge.
Yeah, and guess what? When you told me about Grandpa, I was shaking.
I know.
It's hard.
It's very sad. That's another thing that's maybe harder for Jessica to kind of like is the emotional stuff.
right.
It might not hit her when it hits us,
Okay.
right? It might hit her a day or two later.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, where is she and what's she talking about?
Just the
And
understanding of it, and just how to
trying to process.
absorb everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes like if we might be a little bit like on the angry side with her because she's not doing something that we think that she should be able to do.
Right.
It would be probably 48 hours, 24 hours to 48 hours when she finally gets it. And then she's like, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Like kind of out of the blue, right?
Exactly.
And it may be like something as similar, like as simple as like chores.
right.
She is not a vacuuming person. She does not like to do some things. And I keep trying to say, and Mike keeps trying to say to her, hey, you know what? We're a family and we all have to try to chip in.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
she's, so we might get frustrated a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but she knows she's loved.
Exactly. But it's a typical teenager, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Housework's no fun, is it, Jessica?
No.
No. So for our viewers out there watching that have adopted, and especially in this type of circumstance, what kind of message would you give to them? What kind of inspiration would you give to them to give them maybe some direction, maybe some tools just to say, hey, this is what we did. It might not always work for the person, listening, but maybe there's something that you'll say that will help them.
Right. Did you want to take that first and then I'll take my? Just a little
Always stay positive. Don't when you're having a bad day, don't give up. Just keep with it.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? Look at me and Mom. We are amazing and we can do this.
Absolutely, Jessica. This is why I love her so much.
Yeah, it's always glass half full, which is really cool. I guess what I would say to people that have any child that might have some special needs, or if you have a child that has fetal alcohol, is don't give up. Some days are pretty crazy and pretty hard, but one step forward. Make sure that you try to reach out and talk to people you can. Sometimes it's very tiring to try to do that, just because we don't have an ounce of energy left. But it's really important that you see if there's other people, because you don't want to feel alone in this. And there was some times where I would feel very alone in having the girls, and just like who can kind of experience similar things that I did, who can help me to get to that kind of the next point. Oftentimes I would call our caseworker at Opal Family Services and say, I don't know what to do, and this is happening. And they were amazing. I have to say, like, great supports. Yeah, Jill was amazing, or is amazing. I think that for as far as like behavioral types things with kids, with children specifically that have FASD, I know that sometimes consequences don't work. I just don't think that it's a bad thing to have boundaries. I think that they need to try to learn a little bit so that they feel safe and loved.
Absolutely.
And just, have a great life in what they can. Some of the things that we didn't discuss today are like, and I'll just use an example of tying your shoes.
Okay.
Jessica might have that one day, and then the next day it's gone, and you're like, what? How come this is gone? That's frustrating for us.
Right.
However, I mean, it is something that you can kind of readdress. It may come back.
Okay.
It may never come back. But
So it's just in the moment kind of thing. And then it's kind of that thought process is gone, and they just kind of forget how.
Another example might be right from left.
Okay.
For many, many years, she had a right from left.
Right.
So we were doing an Opal event not too long ago, well, probably before COVID. So that's a little long ago.
Right.
And I said, okay, I can see you. You go to the bathroom, you turn to the right at the end of the hallway. Because I was just at a table not too far away.
Right.
She turned left.
Okay.
And someone came to the table and got me and said, your daughter's in front of the locked bathroom.
Okay.
So somehow she lost her right from her left. So these are kinds of things that we've had to try to face and say, okay, well, where did we lose that? And is there a way to teach it to her again? So you just never know, right?
But this is just some of the things that you guys go through, and you know, and you're doing amazing. And
Yes.
Jessica, you're doing incredible. I
Yes.
mean, I've known you guys for a while, like I said in the beginning, and I've been so touched by your life and your story. And that's why I wanted to have you come on the show today. And maybe, you know, you can share your story with us as you did. And for sure, you know, someone watching out there is going through something similar or something, you know, the same thing. And you're helping that person with direction and touching their life in a way that will be life-changing. So I want to thank you, both of you, for coming on the show today.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. And if you're watching today and you'd like to share your real life survivor story with us and be a guest on the show, you can reach out to me on Facebook under Julie Comeau, and also my fan page, Real Life Survivor. And remember, no matter the obstacle, no matter the struggle, no matter the challenge, never give up. We'll see you back here next time with another real life survivor story.